Moral courage is a topic that is not easily defined because it is not a physical thing that you can point out. With this being said, I've been able to come up with my own definition and clarification of moral courage after observing it through many sources throughout the past 10 weeks. Moral courage is a courage that one possesses when acting based off their ethical values when there are possibilities of consequences that are not desired. This differs from regular courage in the sense that moral courage involves deliberation and careful thought. This topic was first introduced to us as a class in Louis Vaughn's book, Beginning Ethics, where he states, morality refers to beliefs concerning right and wrong. These beliefs help guide our actions, define our values, and give us reasons for being the persons we are. As Vaughan said, we base our actions off of what we believe is right or wrong. This can help us further evaluate moral courage as the act of standing up for what you believe is right, even if the odds are stacked against you. Some of the sources that explain this idea of moral courage are the book The Things They Carried, Plato's Allegory of the Cave, and Nietzsche's Philosophy, A Guide to Happiness. To begin, Tim O'Brien's book, The Things They Carried, displays moral courage through events in the Vietnam War era. In the book, O'Brien, a young 22-year-old college student, about to continue his education on a full-ride scholarship to Harvard's business PhD program, gets drafted into the war to fight in something that he thought was morally incorrect. The struggle that he was presented with was seen when O'Brien stated, 20 yards, I could have done it. I could have jumped and started swimming for my life. Inside me, in my chest, I felt a terrible squeezing pressure. This quote describes a time where O'Brien had left home to go to the Canadian border to possibly flee the country and start over and forget about the draft letter entirely. He got within 20 yards of fleeing the country, but he didn't proceed any further because he knew that it was more morally correct to give his life to fight for his country, like everyone else did that received a draft letter, than to flee the country because the war was against his morals. O'Brien displayed moral courage by standing up for what he believed was right, which was fighting for his country, even though he knew it could come with some pretty dangerous consequences, like dying. Everyone has moral philosophies that they have created throughout their lifetime, and O'Brien's decision to not flee the country and be courageous by fighting for his country was based off the fact that he believed it was more right to stay and flee than to flee. Moral courage is not always the easiest thing to show, hence why it incorporates the word courage into the phrase. It's more than just a regular decision, because it can come with many sacrifices, challenges, and consequences. But putting your life on the line is one of those sacrifices O'Brien made. In addition, moral courage is displayed through Plato's Allegory of the Cave. In this source, Plato describes a scenario that involves people having a fixed view of imaginative shadows in a cave for the whole life, and one person eventually getting out to see the real world and trying to persuade these prisoners of the cave that there's so much more out there. Although moral courage in this scenario is not as evident as Tim O'Brien's experiences, it is still seen when the first prisoner is let out of his chains and is able to explore. When the prisoner explores beyond the cave, he is conflicted with brightness from the bright sun and rage from experiencing new things. As he becomes more adjusted to the new surroundings, he is able to see the unhidden and real meanings of life. This takes moral courage because it's not easy to change environments, get out of your comfort zone, nor experiencing new things. Although this prisoner was filled with rage from understanding that everything that he once thought was true is now wrong. He's able to understand life now because he went out of his comfort zone to explore. This courageous act was taken by the prisoner because his beliefs would define what his life was really about. Before venturing out of the cave, he could have very much experienced something bad that he didn't know about, which is a big sacrifice. In addition, changing your perspective on life was a challenge for this prisoner because it is frustrating to find out something new after believing something different your whole life. By pushing through the adversities and sticking to the moral philosophy, the prisoner was able to display moral courage. Lastly, moral courage was shown in Nietzsche's video Philosophy, A Guide to Happiness, because it explains how dealing with adversities is the ultimate stepping stone to happiness. Nietzsche believed that those who experienced challenges had an advantage over society, since he knew that it would make them stronger. In fact, he even stated, "To those human beings who are of any concern to me, I wish suffering, desolation, ill treatment, and indignities." He's not crazy for saying this, because it is backed by the philosophy that adversities and hardship make people stronger and allow them to reach the ultimate top of happiness. He related this philosophy to climbing a mountain, because it is very difficult and challenging in the process. Once you get to the very top, everything becomes more simpler and happier, and you gain strength. This is an example of moral courage, because one takes not the easy way out, but an action that they believed will give them the best life, even if it is filled with obstacles and challenges. Even if the challenges are as rigorous as climbing a mountaintop, if it will produce the morally correctness, then the action is worth taking. In conclusion, moral courage displays strength in a person, because they are willing to face challenges in order to act in a way that they think is right. In today's world, moral courage is tough to find because of the selfish ways people act. The Dalai Lama's video on personal responsibility for oneself with others sums up the benefit of moral courage and working together as a community. He explains how peace and unity will be brought upon society when we start being courageous and forming real relationships. Though it isn't easy to possess moral courage in the interdependent world we live in today, it is necessary to carry out courageous acts in order to achieve our goals as a society and follow our morality.